Hey everybody. 6:05 start today. But realistically we're gonna wait 5 minutes for everyone to tune in. Yeah, so as usual, if you guys have any questions, you can just leave it into the chat. We'll start. We will start from the top up when we do start in 5 minutes. Let me get my sim booted up. Let me grab some water as well. So just sit tight, guys. Hey, Dang, what's up? Silent Night. Yeah, well, Silent Night, I see your question. We will answer that when we start in 5 minutes. So just hang tight for now while we let people tune in and let me set up my simulator as well. Alrighty. Hey, Luke. Yeah, happy to hear you're enjoying the videos for the Online Academy. Really happy that you are liking it. Hey, Patrick. Yep, I see your questions. So we'll get to those questions. We'll get to those questions when I do start answering them in approximately like 2.5 minutes or so. We'll just let people come in. I usually wait 5 minutes or so. Thomas, what's up? Did you play with your new clubs yet, Tom? They look pretty sweet, actually. That's exciting. Yeah, your set looks really sweet. All right, yeah, we'll start in 1.5 minutes. So we'll start up top as usual from Silent Night's question to kick us off. And then we'll see where the questions take us today. Let me just check something, guys, real quickly here. Yeah, 10 weeks. Yeah, clubs are hard to come by these days. From everything I've read and heard so far, Tom. So happy to hear that you've got it for the start of the season, pretty much. All right, let's we'll wait half a more minute and then we will begin. Let me just check something quickly here, guys. All right, let's see. We will see. All right, questions usually roll in as I start answering them. If not, we will have a short day today. So Silent Knight's asking, hey Larry, do you have any tips on how to stop turning the hips early? I start my hip turn when my takeaway starts. Turning your hips early isn't necessarily a bad thing. I have clients who turn the hips early along with their torso. I have clients who have their hips turn later, as long as it fits with the rest of the movement. It's hard for me to say how to stop your hips to turn early without knowing what you're trying to accomplish. With that being said, if your sole focus is just to not turn your hips early, I would suggest that when you set up, your hips are pretty much facing the ball, right? You will feel like the hips are facing the ball the entire way, and later on, it's probably going to turn for you. You feeling no hip turn, you're probably going to get some hip turn if you're someone who actually turns your hips early, okay? So if your hips are facing the ball at setup, just feeling like everything turns without the hip turn, eventually the torso turn may drag the hip turn along with. That would be what I would suggest. But for most people, early hip turn is not necessarily a bad thing. The only time that early hip turn may not be ideal is if the hips are turning without the torso turning with. So your chest is still facing the ball, but the hips are starting to turn. That may not be too ideal. So if that's what you're doing, then I would suggest trying what I just said. Patrick is asking, hey Larry, I've been trying to get my club pass more to the right. I am thinking left shoulder under chin, then from top right palm face the sky. Is that a good thought? Or also put towel or head cover just behind and right of the ball. Thoughts? I think you're overcomplicating things. If all you're trying to do is swing to the right more, be more inside out, I would suggest you thinking about just looping it, right? If that's your sole intent. So the loop, and you can search up the loop on my channel. I have a lot of videos where I talk about it. But pretty much all you do is you make your backswing however you want to continue making it. If you're your sole focus is just to be more inside out. But basically, you would make your backswing, and you will loop your arm hand club structure way behind you, feeling like everything comes from behind your body, behind your leg, and you have no chance, but you have no other choice but to swing it to the right. Big ass loops, loop your arm hand club back behind you as much as you can, and you're going to swing it to the right. That would be what I would suggest you do. Don't worry about trying to get your left shoulder under your chin or your right palm facing the sky. That stuff doesn't really matter if your sole focus is to swing it to the right. So I would suggest you looping the hell out of it. That you will have more success looping it to get your swing path to the right rather than what you have typed out for me there, Patrick. So hope that helps. CA all day. Where should the pits of your elbow face at setup? Doesn't really matter, really. I mean, I'm not too picky with it. I've never really asked any of my clients to change the orientation of their pits of the elbows at setup. Pretty much whenever you set up, whenever you set up, assuming you're gripping the club decently, your pits of the elbow will be facing in a decent direction. I don't ask people to force it out or anything, or go the other way. Really, as long as you grip that grip decent, however your elbows and arms are oriented will be fine, and that should be it. I wouldn't stress too much about having your elbows face any particular direction at setup. It's not a big focus of mine for any of my clients, and I don't think. I just think that there's more things that you can focus on and direct your energy at, instead of focusing your energy at this particular point. Kenny, is a straight back leg in a backswing bad? Straight back leg, if it's locked out and overextended, sure, that would be bad. So when you set up, you can see that both legs have flex, right? This is straight and locked out. This is some flex. If you make a backswing properly, if the backswing turns, your right hip turns back, or your trail hip turns back, right leg does have to straighten and lose flex. It's not going to lock out, but it does have to straighten and lose flex, okay? Straightening it and losing flex without it locking out is good. People need that. The amount that people need is dependent on how much their hips turn in the backswing, how much flexibility they may have. But for almost everybody, I should say for everybody pretty much, the right leg or the trail leg does have to straighten and lose flex to some degree. Now, again, I don't want it to lock out Kenny, but it does have to straighten and lose flex in the backswing. Hendricks, Larry, I love the vids. When you have a student that spins his right hip out towards the ball too early, what is your typical fix or feel? So typically, if their right hip is moving out towards the ball too early, I feel like they push their butt back in the downswing and keep their right heel on the ground. So, assuming you're a right-handed golfer, if your right hip is coming outwards early, it means you're transitioning to your toes early. Most likely, your butt's not staying back. I ask my clients to push their butt back, feeling like they push the foot into the ground, right foot into the ground, push the butt back, and keep the right heel on the ground. That will prevent the right hip from going outwards this way, okay? So you make your nice backswing, and then you push your butt back, keep your right heel on the ground. That would ensure the hip stays back and turns appropriately. That would be what I would suggest if that's an issue that you're dealing with there, Hendricks. Jackson's asking, hey, Larry, what would you recommend for putting yips? I'm having a lot of trouble right now, confidence-wise, with putts of all distance, lag, mid, and short. So it's hard to say, really. Like without any working relationship with you, fixing it with yips is pretty personal. You have to figure out what's causing it. It's a lot of times it's technique. Sometimes it may not be technique, but a lot of times for most amateur golfers, I do think it stems from technique. So when you're having a trouble right now with putts of all distances, lag, mid, and short, you really have to clean up your mind and be concise with what you want to fix first. It's impossible to fix all three things that you have listed for me. You just have to accept the fact that you may still be bad at lag and mid putt, but you're going to direct all your energy and focus on trying to clean up your short putts. And as that gets better, then you can move on to the next thing, With that being said, I think really like getting lessons is number one. Getting lessons with someone you trust, whether it's in person or online, that will be step number one. It's just so hard to fix the yips without more information. I mean, if you get lucky, you stumble upon a YouTube video that may help. Awesome. I would be ecstatic for you. But most of the time, you do need to speak to someone that you trust to get rid of the yips, since it is pretty personal. Patrick, my instructor is working on helping me maintain width in the downswing and not pull the handle. Also feel more open in impact. Do you promote maintaining width or getting less width in the downswing? I like maintaining width in the downswing. It sounds like your instructor is trying to do good things. Whether you're maintaining width and not pulling the handle down in the downswing is great stuff. That being said, though, I also wouldn't recommend you asking other instructors what they like, because regardless of what I like or what any other instructors like, it shouldn't matter if you're working with your instructor, right? If you trust your instructor that you're working with, it shouldn't matter what I'm saying, shouldn't matter what other YouTubers are saying, shouldn't matter what Butch Harmon and Sean Foley, all those guys are saying. As long as you believe what your guy's saying and you're seeing progress, that's all that matters. So if I were you, I wouldn't worry about it too much. If you have doubts about what your instructor is telling you, then I suggest either have a conversation with them or just move on to the next guy. But if you're working with someone, I really suggest not asking anyone else for their thoughts on what you're working on or any of those things, Patrick. Doan, hey Larry, great content for your channel. Thank you for sharing. You're welcome. Thanks for watching, Doan. How did you learn to play golf? Any influential teachers or model swings? So I mean, I think like most people who are in golf, you take lessons. I took a lot of lessons when I was younger. And it's just taking lessons, experimenting. Obviously, I think most people when they play golf, they're trying to play better. For me, I obviously wanted to play better as well, but I also was really intrigued by the swing, by the movement, I'm really interested in like performance and how the swing works and how the human body moves in any explosive sports and any explosive movements. So because of that, I actually learned quite a bit from strength and conditioning coaches, various people in the performance field aside from golf, traditional golf coaches. But I wouldn't say there's any model swings I look at. There is a lot of swings that has a lot of good pieces in it. Just making sure you move the best for yourself. Chris, hi Larry. I have to play around at the end of the month for a bachelor party. What should I do considering I'm in the middle of a big swing change? I mean, you still have 3 weeks to go, 3.5 weeks to go before that happens, Chris. I mean, we're working on things right now via the online coaching. I think we're making great progress. That being said, you have 3.5 months to go before you have to play around like that. I mean, I would just say have fun and just try your best to have fun. But with 3.5 weeks to go, there's a lot of time to help you get more comfortable with your swing. Considering where we came from at the start, your swing's come a really, really long way. Kenny, if you have your locked out at the end of the backswing, that's definitely not ideal. Let's not lock it out. So like I said, it straightens and loses flex, but it should not lock out. So let's put a fix on that, Kenny. Silent Night, Larry, I've watched your shallowing tips regarding unhinging. Are you unhinging straight down or unhinging down with left wrist flexion? Depends on the player. If you the more you angle the down hinge behind you, the more the left wrist will flex. That being said, though, it really depends on the person and what they need, right? Either one is fine. And like I said, the more you down hinge and angle it back, the more the left wrist is probably going to bow and flex. So both are fine. Mantis is asking, what are your thoughts on ulnar deviation of the lead arm, placing club on the lifeline? Swing thought is straight back and through, almost like heaving something heavy, club handle forward of club. Not really sure what you're asking, to be honest. Yeah, can you retype that? I'm not really sure what you're asking. But I will move on. If you type your question again, I'll get to it. I'm just not sure what you're asking. So just reword that for me. Jackson, thanks, Larry. You're welcome. Yeah, I think I'm just in my head a lot. Need to stop thinking so much. Yeah. I mean, it happens, especially if you feel like you have the yips. I would suggest you for your yips, just go work with someone in person or online. Work with someone you trust, and that will give you the greatest chance at getting over it. Mike, hey Mike, can you review setup position, particularly to hip position relative to feet? Also, how much ankle bend? Yeah, sure. So let me just go from the face-on view first. So when you set up, typically I like the feet roughly the width of you would have when you do a squat. Okay, so let's just say if I'm doing a back squat, my feet are probably this wide. I will be around this wide for, let's say, a mid iron, maybe a little wider for a driver, maybe a little narrower for a short iron or wedge. That being said, longer the club, the wider your stance. Shorter the club, the shorter the stance. So when it comes to the setup, I typically like lead foot flares out a little bit more than the trail foot because you rotate more on the lead side. So for right-handed golfers such as myself, my left foot's at 10:30, my right foot's at 1 o'clock. If 12 o'clock is square, I rarely have people set up square. It's not preferred for most of what I have my clients try to do. So from the down the line view now, really just to get that right amount of hip bend, right? The easiest way for you to do is do this. So you set the ball up, you take your stance width, you have a little bit of knee bend, just you bend from the hips, pushing the butt back so that you feel weight kind of in the heel side to middle of your feet, okay? From there, when you set up, as long as the sole of the club is flat on the ground, your hand should be in a decent spot. It's very tough for people to do this. That's probably not their first choice, right? So as long as you set up to it somewhat with a little bit of knee bend, push the butt back, you have some hip hinge, you should be in a decent spot from that side, and it should be okay from there, Mike. So I think for you, you've been looking okay. You can always ask me personally because we work together through the online coaching. But hopefully, what I have just showed will help whoever may be watching that has set up questions as well. Doan, great stuff. Love how you break down those swings. So was curious how you learned. Yep. Yeah, you're welcome, Doan. Yeah, a lot of experimenting and trying things out. Patrick, do you promote any training aids to pick up club speed, speed stick? Also, what do you charge for online lessons? So for online lessons, you can email me at larry@larrycheunggolf.com, or if you go on my website, larrycheunggolf.com, there should be a email inquiry form. I reply to all my emails. I don't ever ignore email, so I will reply. So you can email me that. I can give you more information for how online lessons work. When it comes to training aids, I'm not really a training aid guy. Speed sticks, it works for some, it doesn't work for others. So it's kind of like, I mean, it could help you, it could not help you. It's hard to say. So I'm indifferent. If you feel like it could help you, great. If not, also great. It's not a big deal. But I myself personally, I'm not really a training aid guide. So I don't really have any training aids I promote or I encourage people to use. I just feel like for a lot of training aids, if people stop using it, they just lose the feeling. So I'm sure there are some training aids which are very helpful, well designed, but I just prefer my clients not to learn with training aids because it becomes a little bit too much of a reliance on them for most players. Let's see. Well, we got through questions quick today, guys. Maybe we will call it early, and I will go do some more work. Maybe I will answer Tom. I'll answer Tom's question before I go. All right. So Tom's asking, can you talk quickly on face angle I set up to the ball? I play a lot of golf and I see a lot of people which I feel their face is very closed. I'm wondering if I have any face too open, adding loft. It really doesn't matter what your face is doing in impact, right? Like it's honestly like pretty hard to definitively aim your face dead square every single time. Some people is a little bit closed, some people is a little bit open, and that's totally fine depending on how that fits in with the rest of the movement, Tom. So really, I've seen some people with closed face, I've seen people with open face. I do think many people are not so extreme one way or the other. Maybe a couple of degrees here and there is not the end of the world. It fits their patterns, it fits their tendencies. So it's not the end of the world for that, Tom. So I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that. And even if you have your face open at setup, doesn't mean you're going to return a face open at setup either. A lot of what people have as setup is not going to be returned at impact. So I wouldn't worry too much, Tom. Patrick, can you teach me real fast how to be Bubba or Bryson Long? Probably not. I mean, to develop speed takes time and effort. It takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of training. So to answer your question briefly, no, I probably can't teach you how to be really fast unless you're already built like a professional athlete. Then maybe, depending on where you are currently in the swing, but probably not in all honesty. Funny Videos is asking, could you please talk about how to fix over the top problem? It's pretty easy actually to fix over the top. If the sole focus is to fix over the top, you have to you have to just move in the opposite direction, right? So I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel where I talk about the loop. If you're over the top, your arms, hands, and club is coming over and in front of you. All you have to do is just do the opposite, really. So if you make your back swing, all you have to do is move your arms, hands, and club way behind you, feeling like your arms, hands, club come from way behind your body, way behind your right foot. And if you can do that, you should be really, really inside out. And for people who are over the top, they will be either a little bit inside out or just way less outside in. But over the tops are actually quite easy to fix. So just if you search in loop on my YouTube channel, you're gonna find some videos that can definitely help. You're welcome, Tom. Hey Larry, are you hiring for positions in the US? I am not. I'm based in Toronto. I have no immediate plans on hiring for the US. So it is just strictly for hiring for Toronto, for a local person to help give in-person lessons. So unfortunately, no US positions for now. Maybe in the future, just not in the immediate plans now. So with that, let's call it a day on that. Seems like I have caught up to all the questions today in a pretty good time. So let's do this again next Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, probably 6:05 because I'm probably teaching till 6. But yeah, any questions? Feel free to drop in next week, 6 p.m. Eastern time, 6:05, 6 p.m. Eastern time, Thursdays weekly until the lockdown ends, and then we'll probably have to switch the time. So we'll see. Anyway, stay safe, everyone. Stay healthy. Stay safe. And we'll see you guys next week. Thanks, guys.